hello again. I feel a bit stressed because there will be not much about Django actually in my presentation. This will be more conceptual talk than technical. So I would like to tell you about the problem I have to face during my PhD, and I suppose that it can be a bit more general problem that needs some kind of let's say software solution. So we start from some thoughts concerning data. So we can observe today massive flow of data ready to get and be analyzed. And some people call it data intensive science. So what actually is this data intensive science? So we start from two definitions. So data intensive science takes data driven approach in which information emerges from the data as opposed to the more traditional knowledge driven. And the other one tells us that data intensive science is something like analysis of massive amounts of data from an array of sources. So both definitions describe same phenomenon, but they slightly differ. They describe slightly different aspects of this phenomenon. When we compare these two definitions, so the first one can be understood in more global context. So it's more related to accumulation of data, so to knowledge that derives from accumulation of data of similar type within a particular field of research. It's more related to global circulation of data and some global cyber infrastructure behind it. When I talk about cyber infrastructure, I'm talking about software components only. So this global infrastructure is developing pretty fast. So this is a nice example, one of the biggest data repositories for biological and environmental sciences, Data One. And there are other repositories, some of them are more specialized, some of them are more general. So this global infrastructure already exists and is developing really fast. But when we get back to this second definition, the data intensive science is analysis of massive amounts of data from an array of sources. So we have sources, sensors, we collect some observations, and we need some kind of synthesis of integration. So this aspect of data intensive science is more about data integration, fusion of high diversity of data types, and this definition tells us about both global and local context, but local context is more common, I would say. As I said, for global context, there are some solutions. So it tells about local adaptation of data and local cyber infrastructure. So big projects, teams usually can afford to create their own local cyber infrastructure, but smaller teams, when you have 1 to 2 people doing research, or just like PhD student like me. So usually there is no ready-to-use solutions for such a project. And now let's talk quickly about ecological data and ecological research. And it's quite often the case that this kind of research, both small and big, generates large and complex data sets and extensively use data from external sources. I will try to show you how it works based on examples from my PhD study. So first, cheat sheet. So as for sources of ecological data, so we have observation of data, experimental, and data that come from different sensors. As for basic types of data, so we can have tabular data, some multimedia, observation of species, and GIS data, vector, raster, and data sets. So in my PhD I use camera traps. These are just cameras with motion sensors, and I collect pictures of wild animals. So I've been collecting data for 2 years, and at the moment it's quite extensive data sets. And I couldn't find a solution to organize these multimedia files somehow. Next to this observational data, I also use some remote sensing to describe environment. in which these species live. And this remote sensing data come in different resolution also, so we have more general pictures of the whole landscape, and more detailed pictures. So, yeah. And time series data also extracted from remote sensing data, like land surface, temperature, for example. And to understand these pictures, these images, so we also have to collect some reference data and fields. So this is this extra data we will always have to collect, because when you work on a global context, when you try to solve some kind of global problem, so then usually you have ready-to-use data products. But when you focus on a smaller part of some remote part of the world, and you want to look more detailed what's going on there, so then you usually have to create your products, like processed images, and then you can start the analysis. So, and very common, very important, so very often case in ecology, so spatial temporal context, so our data is described in both in space and time. So this compiled complex data sets need good data management practices to be easily accessible, discoverable, shareable, and reusable. And short summary till now, so even small ecological research projects can generate large and complex data sets. And in my opinion, there is a gap in the data-intensive cyber infrastructure, especially in case of the smaller local projects. So the question is how small data-intensive science projects should manage complex multi-source data sets to make them easily accessible, discoverable, shareable, and reusable. So this is how ecologists design software. So this is just a simple picture concept. So we of course need some storage, like database with special extension for JS vector files and our tabular data and multimedia files. Yeah, this is quite natural choice. For raster data, it would be nice to have something special, like Rasterman can be an interesting solution because this is big array analytics engine. It has a specific SQL like raster query language, and it can speak Python through GDAL, JS, commonly used library. And then we would like to serve our JS data somehow, so GeoServer with implemented services defined by OGC, Geospatial Consortium. Also can speak Python, and important thing, metadata catalog. So for Node.js data, there is a metacat. It's a generic XML database, and this repository for both data and metadata. When we talk about data that can be published using this kind of metadata catalogs, we talk about ready to publish data. Many standards implemented with ecological metadata language also can speak Python. So for JS data, OGC CSW catalog service for the webs implemented in Python. Also, as the central model, of course, Django to take care about authentication permissions, searching, filtering, metadata creation and management. And again, really important thing would be to create such a functionality for searching and filtering in spatial temporal context. Would be excellent to have. To can ask active this software, this database to get all the data at the same time. So in case of tabular data and multimedia files vector, it's pretty simple because you can use built-in Postgres functionality for special queries. You can ask directly by attributes, and for raster data, so you can use this raster query language. As for other services, substitute sharing data. So, for example, resources like multimedia files can be organized into collections. Importing, uploading, exporting, downloading, processing data after import, upload. Because particular research projects have specific needs as for processing data, so after import upload would be nice if you can choose how to deal with the data, so this can be solved somehow by pluggable apps and implemented specific functionality. Why Django? So you already know, and this is on top of this hypothetical ecological data repository framework. We have connection with big data repositories, so our metadata catalog could fit global data repositories. Of course, some standard web browser interface and API. For example, to make it possible to connect this software from something like scientific workflow management system or JS software. So we tried to implement some parts of this hypothetical solution. We have been still fighting. It's not so easy for us as total amateurs. At least we are quite successful with implementation of just basic models to deal with multimedia files for camera trapping. So some simple views, tabular views, map views with filtering, also special filtering. Yeah, and classification form. Actually, this annotation of collected data, and this form has to be, in this particular case, has to be quite flexible, because in ecology it's quite often the case that we ask different questions using the same data, and so now it's possible to define a set of attributes for both dynamic and static form. Actually, both forms are static, and they're generated dynamically based on predefined attributes. These predefined attributes are set by admin of classification project. The sequence is how to combine subsequent pictures of animals when we want to group these animals, when we want to save this kind of information. So just take home message. So in my opinion, it should be possible to create such open source lab-based cyber infrastructures for small data-intensive ecological research projects, and they could fit global data repositories, and they could stimulate local adoption of global available data, and they could stimulate local cooperations. So this is what hasn't been told till now. This local cooperation, which means like data flow between local agents, research units, nature monitoring agencies, forests, and some NGOs.